Movie is named Hoosiers. I suppose everybody knows that's what they call people from Indiana, or at least
yes, everyone
know
does.
that in Illinois anyway. Does everyone know that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you should consider this review, though, sort of an early warning, because the movie hasn't opened in most parts of the country. In fact, it's opening only in Indiana, and it's going to open elsewhere in January, but I think they ought to open this one in New York and L.A. to qualify for Academy Awards, because I think it's that good, especially some of the performances. This is a wonderful, exciting, heartwarming movie. Now, I used to be a sports writer when I was in high school, and quite honestly, I thought this movie was as much fun as going to a high school basketball game. And that's praise. The film stars Gene Hackman as a middle-aged man who's hired as a basketball coach in a very small Indiana town. Now, what is this middle-aged guy doing in such a backwater? He only has 7 players to start the season with on his team, but he works hard with them, and they get to be pretty good. And the early scenes in the movie are mostly about how he convinces them that they really can play good basketball.
Here's what we're going to do. Jimmy, they're going to be expecting you to take a last shot.
Hackman doesn't simply try to reform the team. He also takes on the challenge of the alcoholic father of one of the players, who may be a drunk, but knows his basketball.
I want you to be my assistant. I want you to come to practices and sit on the bench with me during the games.
Me? You want me?
What do you say? Under the following conditions. That you, clean yourself up. And, you shave and, you show up at the games on time and the practices. And you wear a shirt and tie.
Well, I got myself a suit right there. I got a wing dinger. I was married in that suit there.
And that you're sober.
That's Dennis Hopper in a fine supporting role there as the man who's given a second chance in life. And Barbara Hershey is also good in this movie as the high school teacher who is suspicious of Hackman. We find out that Hackman is getting a second chance too, because he got thrown out of college basketball 10 years earlier for losing his temper and hitting one of his players. The second half of Hoosiers combines those human stories with the team's road to the state tournament. And although it was pretty easy to figure out who was going to win, I found those closing scenes amazingly exciting. I was reminded of another great Indiana movie about sports and people, a movie named Breaking Away. This is a real good movie with a great performance by Gene Hackman.
Gee, and when you say Breaking Away, I think, which I love so much, I think I'm not reminded by Breaking Away because I hadn't seen anything quite like Breaking Away when I saw it, whereas I have seen movies similar to this. You talk about the sports ending, and I felt that that's where I was let down. Gene Hackman is quite wonderful. I think the movie lays it a little on thick by having him cure an alcoholic as well as romance this other woman. I think that's a little extra, and help the team too. I mean, this guy, and rehabilitate himself. I just think he's asked to do too much. It's a nice performance, but then when they get on that basketball tour, I just wish some variation had been played. Something had been played that made it a little bit fresh. It's not a bad movie. I just thought it was a little too predictable.
Well, of course, you could always surprise everyone by having them lose all of their games and still build their character, but that wouldn't necessarily be great box office. What I liked about the movie, and I know just a little bit about sports, probably no more than you do, is that they really did pay a lot of attention to his coaching strategy, to his approach, and to the discipline that he tried to instill, and how he tried to teach them to play. And you could see that, so that it was a sports movie where the actual strategy was part of the plot, in addition to all the other things you're talking about.
Yeah, but I went to high school in Indiana, and I know that the team that they would have played against, as one of the South Bend teams, would have blown them right off the court.
Yeah, but what you also know, of course, is that that's a totally irrelevant thing for a movie critic to say, because special knowledge has nothing to do with whether a movie works and whether it's entertaining. So you're ashamed of yourself.
I always thought my special knowledge was why I was on this show.
Special knowledge about movies, but not about Indiana basketball. Coming up next, and did you play, by the way?
No.
No? Too bad. Might have made a short, but he hustles.